Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 703, and today's date is June 28th, 2015, and the title of this episode is The Current Economic Collapse News Brief. Let's get right into the economic collapse news. Now, out in Greece, we see the situation is starting to ramp up here. We're seeing that the Greek government, the central bankers, no agreement whatsoever. We see that the Greek Prime Minister, Tsipras, he called a referendum on the outcome of the Greek bailout talks with the creditors. And we see just on Saturday, people were so nervous, scared, they ran to the banks, the ATMs, and just on Saturday, they withdrew 1 billion euros. And this is continuing because they're very nervous that come Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever they decide, banks might not reopen. They could be Cyprus. And we know what happened in Cyprus, where the banks shut down. People couldn't get their money out. The banks did a bail-in. They took their money, replaced it with worthless bank stock. Now, this entire thing, if Greece does default on their debt, this might cause and trigger default clauses of about 130.9 billion euros that Greece owes the euro. And we might see this occur. Now, this might then cascade into a credit default swap, into a derivative problem, and we're going to have to watch this very carefully. We see right now that Varoufakis, the Greek finance minister, is out there saying, listen, banks might be closed. We see the ECB freezes the ELA for Greece, and we see capital controls, we see bank closures, and so far there is no agreement whatsoever. It looks like the Greek government is leaving it up to the people. What do you want to do? And the Greek government is looking to have this Greek referendum on July 5th, and the people are going to decide. Will they go and say, okay, listen, we understand it's bad, but we want to stay with the euro. We'll take the bailout. We'll impose more austerity on ourselves. We want more taxes. We want you to cut our pensions. Or will they go ahead and say, you know something, enough is enough. We need to exit. There is no agreement. Now, what's very interesting is that they did a preliminary poll, and they're showing that the Greek people want the deal with the central bankers, which makes no sense whatsoever because they voted for the Tsipras government where they said we do not want more austerity. We don't want these type of agreements anymore. It does not spur economic growth in our country. And here they have the initial polls showing that the Greek people want this. So something here doesn't make sense, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are other hands in this manipulating the poll numbers. But we'll have to see how this plays out. Now, Greece does have a way out of this. I mean, right now the Troika is basically blackmailing Greece. They're applying strategies of reverse objectives. The EU does not want Greece or any other member, no matter how weak economically, to leave the Eurozone. A Greek exit may risk causing a chain reaction, which we talked about quite a bit. The IMF, which is the extending arm really of the U.S. Treasury, is really calling the shots in Brussels. And right now, there are two ways of going about this. One would be the traditional one, which is defaulting. And a lot of people don't realize this. I mean, there are other countries that have defaulted before. It's not like this is something new. And we see that Argentina defaulted, Bolivia, Ecuador, and even Germany has defaulted. If Greece decides to default on their debt, simultaneously they would exit the Eurozone, taking back monetary and fiscal autonomy and returning to its own currency, which is the drachma. And we understand, and we reported on this, that they redesigned the drachma. We also understand that Greece has signed the agreement with Russia to support the Turkish pipeline, and which they're receiving 2 billion euros. They didn't go with the Eurozone and the United States government central bankers, they went with Russia. They're in talks with the BRIC system, saying, you know what, maybe we will become a member. The next step would be to nationalizing and regulating Greek banks, activating the Greek central bank as a sovereign institution. They will make the monetary policy now, using local banks to jumpstart the local economy, followed by negotiating Greece's 360 billion euro debt with the central banks, the private Western central bank system, the creditors. And they will do this with their devalued drachma. But this will all be on Greece's terms and conditions. So we're going to have to watch this situation because we're seeing that it is ramping up. Central bankers are nervous. Other countries are watching, like France, Italy, Spain, to see what happens here. The United States is nervous. And this could cause a domino effect. Now, we understand here in the United States, those people who had subsidies for Obamacare have and are able to keep their subsidies. But what's very interesting about Obamacare, it was put into place to tell everyone they were going to get these benefits. It's going to make it better for everybody. It's going to be low-cost insurance where everyone can afford it. And actually, we've seen the complete opposite of all of this. But a recent study came out and stated that repealing Obamacare would cost hundreds of billions of dollars to implement. This is what they keep throwing in our faces, that, listen, if we get rid of Obamacare, it's going to cost a lot more money. You mean opposed to the billions of dollars that they're spending to keep Obamacare? But let's see if this is true. The CBO and the JCT found that repealing Obamacare would increase the gross domestic product by 0.7%, and that effect alone would reduce projected deficits by $216 billion over the 2016 to 2025 period. This may sound trivial, but a 0.7% increase in GDP is equivalent to an additional $1,400 in the pocket of each household per year. The CBO also found that repealing Obamacare would increase capital stocks and the number of people working over the next 10 years. Because as we know with Obamacare, they started limiting the number of hours that people worked. They went from full-time to part-time. They realized they can't hire certain people or they'll be penalized. Now that option is not in force right now, but when it does come in force, more people are going to be let go from work. And this is why the illegals are coming in, because they're not covered under this option. The corporations do not have to pay the $3,000 penalty. So right now, Obamacare gives no benefit whatsoever, and the costs, because it is a monopoly if you really think about it, all the insurance companies are linked together. Their costs now are linked together. There is no competition. And if they all decide at one time to raise the prices, guess what? Everyone is brought up to the next level. And there's no competition anymore. This is what we are seeing here, because we are not in a capitalistic society anymore. We're in a fascistic society right now. Now, we understand that the government and certain corporations are spying on the people. We know the NSA has back doors into pretty much everything. And news broke that Google has been stealth downloading audio listeners onto every computer that runs Chrome. And they transmit audio data back to Google. Effectively, this means that Google has taken itself the right to listen to everyone's conversation in their room. So if you're running Google Chrome, this is a problem. Now, of course, Google went out and they responded to this, and they said, well, what you can do, you can go ahead and shut this option off. By default, it's on. So you can go into Google Chrome and shut it off. Or you can switch browsers. This is not their response. This is my response. You can use other browsers like Firefox or any other browser. Look through your advanced options. Make sure you're not sending data to places you don't want your data to go. And we understand that the NSA continually has backdoors, and corporations now, under the new USA Freedom Act, they're going to continually spy on the people, because all they did was take the spying from the U.S. government and moved it onto the corporations. They want the corporations to spy on the people, that information will now be transmitted over to the government. So the government can say, we are no longer spying on you. Now, you can take responsibility into your own hands, because if you want things to be private, you do it now in your everyday life. You keep your doors locked to your house. You keep your car locked. You keep your important information, your papers, under lock and key. Your valuables in a safe someplace. That's keeping yourself private. You took responsibility. The same thing has to be with electronic devices, electronic media. Now, you can use certain tools like Start Page, which will mask your search results to Google. They won't know where it's coming from. They can't track you with this. You can use encryption. You can also turn off your geo-tracking in your iPhone or Android so it doesn't track you everywhere you go. And it's usually used for maps and things like that. I mean, there's certain little steps you can take. You can use Block It Pocket, which is a great product. It's a sleeve that you can slip your phone into. It blocks the signal. It's fabric that's intertwined with copper, silver, and it blocks the signal, has an additional benefit of blocking the radiation. You can also buy from them these little sleeves that will block your credit cards, because we know that all the credit cards now are coming with these chips, and it will block the signal so nobody can steal your information. And even the new driver's license that's being issued by DHS will have an RFID chip inside. If you slide it into the sleeve, it will also block the signal of that chip. So there's many different methods you can use, and you can go to blockitpocket.com, and you can look at those things. You can go to startpage.com. You can look at that. You go to Firefox, and you can go ahead and download their new browser. They make that browser for Apple. They make it for IBM, or I shouldn't even say IBM. This is old school already. You can just use it on your non-Apple devices that runs Windows, and you can download that browser. So there's many different ways you can do this to protect yourself. Now, we understand the United States government central bankers are continually trying to remove the weapons from the people. And of course, they're starting with guns. The UK already have a tight gun control ban on the people. Well, they're taking it a step forward. They're taking the next step. And now they want to ban all knives. We know the US government has drawn up plans for knife regulations. And in the UK, it has already begun. For the UK, gun control is just not enough. Now, the program involved several weeks of amnesty for pointed knives. Civilians can turn in these apparently dangerous weapons in their local police stations in exchange for amnesty. Apparently, even though knives, rounded or pointed, aren't illegal in the United Kingdom, they're trying to get everyone to give in their weapons. Now, we know why this is, because when a society is closed down, they have to remove the weapons from the people any way they possibly can. There is, however, right now a ban on people under 18 buying knives, going so far on the absurdity scale as to ban underage purchases of plastic knives. So as time goes on, we can see with all these draconian laws, removing the rights of the people, removing the weapons of the people, they know something is about to occur. They realize that things are going to go down when this entire system collapses, and they don't want people to have weapons, because it's easier to control the population without weapons and to make them do things they don't really want to do than if people had weapons. And this is why the Founding Fathers in the United States here gave us the Second Amendment. This is why they included it, because they know eventually governments become tyrannical. They realize eventually, and this is coming from Thomas Jefferson, that the freedom they gave us, once again, the people are going to have to fight for it. Do you really want freedom? Do you really want the government controlling you anymore? Dictating what you can or cannot say. And they knew this. They knew the time would come, and they knew the system would only last 100 years. But actually, it's gone on for 200, and we can see the entire thing is starting to break down. But if you look at the murder rates in the UK gun ban, we can see that the murder rates, according to this graph, continually rise. Coming from the 1968 gun control law, murder rates continually moved up. In 1997, there was a new gun control law, and murder rates continually went up. It's on an upward trend because, again, if people do not have weapons, they will resort to knives, bats, anything else to commit a crime. The only reason they're banning weapons is not to protect you. It's to protect themselves. They want to get rid of everything so they can control the people. Now, out in Venezuela, we understand that the United States government central bankers were trying to have a color revolution. They wanted to get and remove the government there and stick in a puppet government like they're doing in Ukraine, Libya, Yemen, Lebanon. They want to do it in Syria. They want to do it in Iran and many other countries. And we see right now that Venezuela actually is turning towards Russia and China. China turned over the first batch of about 557 military vehicles to Venezuela. The consignment included a VN4 4x4 wheeled armored vehicle, ABV-1 assault breacher vehicle, and other vehicles. And we can see right now that Venezuela has planned to buy a total of about 2,100 military vehicles for its ground forces. The Australian government, their Senate committee has approved the purchase of armed drones from the United States. The report says that drones are going to be used with the Australian international legal obligations. They're going to be using them in Afghanistan, Iraq, just like the United States does now. So we see all these nations right now, the coalition forces, they understand they're going to have to go back into Afghanistan. They understand, well, they were never leaving Afghanistan, but they're going to go back in there and they're going to have to take control once again of what is going on here because the people in that country are rising up again. It's not the Islamic State. They're using this as an excuse to get into these countries. It is the people who are rising up in these countries who want their government back. They want their country back. They want the puppet government out. We see out in Ukraine, we see the deputy foreign minister of the Transnistrian Republic, which is right between Moldova and Ukraine, said that Ukraine was moving its troops toward the borders of the self-proclaimed republic, sandwiched between Ukraine and Moldova. It looks like Ukraine is spreading out, taking control of the entire country and what they think is part of their country. And it seems at this point in time, they're getting ready for a major offensive. And we see as time goes on that they are definitely bringing in more troops, more lethal weapons. The United States is there. The UK is there. Poland is there. Many other countries are there training the military of Ukraine. And we can see they are definitely getting ready for an offensive. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.